本当？見えないでしょ？どこにいるのかな？見えないよ。What's good, Internet? It is Monday, February 8th. I guess it's not true anymore, right? Because these are coming out on Tuesdays.
Tuesday.
So that's wrong. Tuesday, February 9th, and you are listening to Waypoint Radio, episode 375. I'm your host, Austin Walker. I'm joined today by Patrick Klepek.
Hello.
Patrick?
Hello? I said hello.
Damn. Oh, didn't come through.
Hashtag.
You know what?
Heard the hello.
Hashtag heard the hello. Here it comes. It's back.
Okay.
The sequel.
That's good.
Just like Tom Brady and the 7 rings.
The 7 hellos of
Christ.
Waypoint Radio. Also joining us, obviously, Ricardo Contreras. How you doing, Ricardo?
You know, all right. Overstuffed with guac.
Oh, you got all guacked
Did you
up?
do a whole thing? Like you
It's
still went
literally
through
the one
motions?
time. Yeah, the one time I I will always watch the Super Bowl just so I can make a bunch of shit food and usually have friends over and we don't really pay too much attention to the game until it's halftime. But yeah, I made too much food because normally I make it for other
the same
people.
amount of food
Yeah.
this year as if there were a bunch of people coming over?
I think that's the way to do it, though, right? You say, fuck it, I'm still going to live my life.
Yeah.
And my life now involves eating 3x the amount of food
Just a
because
shit ton of
I'm not
chicken
going to let
wings.
this COVID keep me down. I'm still going to eat a half a pound of guac.
Yeah.
Godspeed.
It was delicious. It was great.
All you weekend
I have
warriors.
another half a pound in the fridge still. It's gonna be good all week.
See, we went the opposite route where we were gonna order wings from a great place down the street, and it was my birthday yesterday too. So my wife
happy
was
birthday,
thank you.
Patrick.
Negative
Tom
13
Brady
degrees.
got himself another ring.
Yeah,
Your
good.
birthday.
I got myself stuck inside with negative 13-degree weather, and my daughter getting me picking out a Jurassic Park T-shirt for me from Target, opening it, and then her going, "Oh, you already have this. I'm sorry." And I was like, "Well, thanks for getting it for me anyway. It's the thought that counts." Anyway, she said, "Do you want to get wings from that place?" And I was like, we got Costco wings, and they're pretty good. I'm not even lying here. They're fine. I was like, do we? Nah. Let's just do the Costco wings. We'll just put those in, and that's good enough. So I went I'm Cado's out here, making food for a fammy, and I'm out here being the Costco bag is fine.
Yeah. Let's just stay in tonight, honey. That's the vibe.
The ones that's at Costco, they got good sauce. So that's I like them.
I would try Costco wings. I'm not here to judge until I've had them and then decide
I don't
they're not
think
good.
I should say. I think when I say Costco, they're not Kirkland brand. It's just whatever one. I don't know which one it
You
actually
don't know if it
is.
was a Tyson or whatever else.
Yeah, I don't think it's a Tyson. No, I think it's a smaller one, but it was specifically the sauce is it's got a real kick to it that I enjoyed. So
Damn. Well, now I want to know what they are. So
what are the other dips though? All right, so we got guac, but that's standard. Would you make the guac? I'm assuming, or
Yes.
are
I made
you also trudging
everything.
out into the snow? Against your partner's wishes to go to the bodega to buy bodega guac.
Oh, don't, yeah.
No. I'm making that guac. Always
Okay,
making my own
all right.
guac.
Is that
making my
your
own
primary-
wings.
Yeah.
It's wings. Wings is the central feature actually with
Yes.
my own sauce because buffalo
Ooh.
wing sauce is
Really,
just
what's your
butter.
buffalo? Wait, talk to me about your buffalo sauce.
It's just butter, garlic, and whatever my hot sauce of the moment is. You just
Oh,
put
so you're
hot
just
sauce at the
you're
moment.
just home making
Yeah.
the buffalo sauce as opposed to I thought it was a unique Cado special.
No,
and the
it's just
Cado special is the hot sauce that's in the fridge.
whatever is good at the moment. Usually some snake oil, which is a Baltimore local
okay.
that I really enjoy.
Real quick, can I pause? You said
yeah.
snake oil, and I learned something last week that is fucking phenomenal and weird. Okay, so if I say someone's a snake oil salesman, what I mean is that they're a scam artist, right? That they're a con man,
Right.
And that snake, what snake oil was historically in the American frontier,
medicine, right?
Like a
Yeah.
tonic
it's
of sorts,
yeah.
right? Yeah.
It's like a tonic of sorts, and explicitly, I think people use it to mean a huckster who is selling something that doesn't work, right?
Yeah.
You're just a fucking snake oil salesman.
Right.
This is patent medicine. This isn't real shit. It turns out that snake oil originates it comes to America via Chinese immigrants. And in China, snake oil was like a real thing that came from taking the oils of Chinese water snakes, which were high in like omega-3 fatty acids, and making a tonic with those that would help things because we need omega-3 fatty acids. America does not have Chinese water snakes. And so after going through that supply, a bunch of white people were like, we can make snake oil. We can have rattlesnakes. Right. And so they started making it with rattlesnake oil and doing it in a big show where it's like, I'm going to kill this rattlesnake and you're going to see that I got the oil from this rattlesnake. And that doesn't work because rattlesnakes aren't. And then, of course, immediately the biggest snake oil person was like, you know what? I'm not even going to touch a snake. No snakes involved. We're gonna get cow oil. Actually, we're gonna get cow fat and mix that in with it was cow fat. Then it was, and this is the best shit in the world. This is it's exactly what you want. Like basically chili powder or something like that to make it sting when you drank it or put it on, so that you felt like, oh yeah, that's working. That burns a little bit. And then something to make it smell like medicine, and that's it. And it wasn't like, that's it. All right, go for it. And that's the story of America, baby. It is.
That's incredible. That's
anyway,
great.
snake oil is a good name for a hot
Wikipedia
sauce.
dive.
Yeah.
You know, you don't get enough of those these days. Feels like you've seen too much. And then every once in a while you get one. It's like, still got
Incredible. Anyway, Cado, snake oil. I haven't tried snake oil hot sauce. What's the flavor profile? Talk to me about the sauce.
It's made with fish peppers, apparently. The thing from the Chesapeake Bay area. It's not super spicy. Like, I've had worse, but it's I have a hard time describing it other than delicious. Like, sometimes you get a hot sauce and it's like, I only care about the heat. It's not gonna taste like anything in particular, but this has like a flavor to it that is really good as a seasoning in and of itself. So I really enjoy it.
Nice.
Yeah.
That sounds
Your
good.
inability to describe why you like it is like a constant source of tension with my wife's exceptional cooking. She's now just accepted me, 15 plus years in, for who I am, which is that my ability to, she's like, you're a writer. Like, don't you have like some sort of expanded vocabulary? And when it comes to explaining like, what did you like about the meal? It was good. It's like, asshole.
God.
It had some nice umami. Just throw that in there.
That's the thing. I feel like you have to just put the work in to learn like 12 vocabulary words for
I
foods.
got better once we bought our house and had kids and I was cooking more often. So that I actually, it's like, like if you cook, like you understand how, the salt and, just like basic, like I just didn't have a vocabulary for it because my wife was an exceptional cook, loved cooking, and was like, cool, this seems like I'm just going to coast on this.
Eat this up. Oh, geez. All right. Well, did anyone do any video game type shit over the... Actually, you know what? It's been a week. Because, okay, so for people who maybe are just jumping in this week, they skipped the last couple episodes. We are, for the next, I guess, 4 weeks now, doing on Fridays, on the Friday episode, we're dropping 2 panel conversations from Reset, which is a show that we helped work on for Vice TV, formerly Viceland. It's made by a bunch of great people from like the Vice News side of the organization, and it's covering like games culture and history and stuff. And at the end of each one of those, there's a conversation, there's a panel, and that gets chopped down because it's TV. And so we are giving you the whole panel here. Cado is editing those. Thank you, Cado. Hashtag thank you, Cado. And because of that, though, that means we didn't do a Friday podcast last week. And I feel like stuff happened. What's the order of operations? What was the first news item that hit that I was like, God damn it, I wish we were doing a Friday podcast? Was it Stadia? Was it Mass Effect?
That's one of the... I think Google was before...
Then
Mass Effect, I think.
Well, what's up with Stadia? Can't wait for all those Stadia first party games.
What's the deal?
Yeah,
with Stadia?
Kotaku broke and then was subsequently confirmed by Google themselves that they are going to release a handful of partnership games or games that they're developing. It's kind of unclear, but some things will still come out in 2021, but beyond that, they are largely exiting the business of making their own games and are seemingly mostly going to transition Stadia to being some sort of like partner technology. Like, hey, Bethesda, do you want to stream games? Like, we've got Stadia, but there were red flags from the beginning when they announced a platform and said, and we're also forming development studios and we're going to make AAA games. And it's like, yo, that takes 3 to 4 years if you've already got the wheels greased. You're going to start from scratch. And so I think to this date, I don't know that Stadia has actually released an in-house developed game. They have released games exclusive to Stadia that were like partnerships where like they reached out to an independent studio and like, hey, we'll, give you some money to finish this up. Like, but I don't know that there's been anything firmly under the Stadia branding, and there just won't be, which largely calls into question the whole endeavor going forward. Because why would you purchase a game on? I could see purchasing Stadia Pro, doing the subscription thing, and if there's a game on there you want to screw around with, I can see, at least you can get in and out of that in a month. But I don't see any reason why you should want to purchase games on their platform when there's every reason to think, and it probably doesn't happen tomorrow or even next year. It probably happens in a couple of years, but if you want to be there's a reason people love buying games on Steam is because they like it all in one place, and people like to hoard their collections of games. I get it. And there's just no reason to do that on Stadia anymore, which just calls
there's the thing too about it is like, so I'm not a big physical goods guy. Like, I don't have a big collection of stuff. That's not me. I'm happy to have a digital whatever. And I know that makes me like persona non grata for a lot of people inside of our hobby, because lots of people like collecting stuff, and I get that. But part of being the sort of person I am is admitting that, like, oh yeah, it could all go away tomorrow, theoretically, right? Yeah. Like, I know that Steam could be like, oh, sorry, no more games, done, and people would be pissed about it. But like,
Gabe's, you remember that famous Marvel Comics House of Gabe?
No more games.
He whispers, "No more games," and then Steam goes under.
Yeah, of course.
Wow, WandaVision episode 5, wild.
So I know that, but there's a gap even between my position and then something like Stadia, where you need the servers to work. You need the service to be provided to continue to have access to the games.
There's no.
I can't just unplug the Ethernet and be like, "All right, I got it on my hard drive. It's not going anywhere." You can
usually kind of like hammer like, "Hey, pirates, hobbyists,
yes.
They will take care of you." That's just not. That is always like sort of like the one of the great problems with cloud stuff. As much as I like the convenience and think it is going to be a component of things going forward, no matter what. But at least like in a Game Pass situation, like or xCloud rather, it's like, oh, I can buy that game locally. I can go buy a disc. The thing here, the pitch here is, oh, I can also be on my couch and like jump into a Halo match with my phone in the hotel lobby. Whereas with Stadia is like, no, like if they whatever like Jade Raymond's teams were cooking up, those games were never going to be released in any form other than like their cloud-based. There's no way to like scrape the execute like the data.
Totally.
It would just only exist in video form. Like that's the only way that you'd ever be able to, like, absent the company releasing the data, which they wouldn't do. That was the only way that it was going to exist. So that was you're right. That was kind of a step like also further.
The other half of that, of the like, okay, let's say I had bought Assassin's Creed Valhalla on Stadia, and that's the one place I have it. That game, that purchase is as good as Google keeping this service running. That's it. If Google decides in 3 years to shut down the servers to Stadia, I would then lose access to those games. And maybe they won't do it. Maybe they'll keep it on the back burner indefinitely because they've made these purchases or these sales. Or what they probably have done is charted out how long until people don't get mad about it anymore, which is probably like 5 years or something.
I mean, I guess it sticks around in the UB. Like I wrote about like the way I played 10 hours of Valhalla before I realized there were 100 hours of Valhalla.
Right.
What was like. It was neat that you could purchase the game through Ubisoft Store, and then if you also purchased it through Steam, Stadia, you could play in those different places. So I could see like stuff like that, kind of like, and that's probably what Google sees as the future of it, is like, hey, we have this giant YouTube audience. Like, what if they could just buy the game here and have partnerships with the developers and
Well, and that's the thing is, like, I think this speaks to why when Stadia was first announced, so many people intuitively misunderstood that there would be that just buying it or that the primary setup for it would be a subscription service that gave you access to games, to a Netflix style selection of games.
And also,
because it just makes sense, because you don't own it. You don't own. It's not going to a digital library in the way, because it's not running on your machine. And so I think a lot of people, or at least even for me when I first made that mistake, it was like, oh, of course, it's like Netflix, I'm streaming these things, and so I don't own them, but they're in a collection. Like, no, that's not it. You're spending full product price for the fucking game. And
there's also this thing, and also you're not just playing the high-end PC games. Like, I've like very close to Stadia's launch, did not realize that companies were being asked to port their games to Stadia, and like that finally like became crystal clear with like Red Dead Redemption 2, where it's like, oh, like this is like only just as good as the Xbox One X version of the game. It was like, what do you really like? This seems like an extremely large hurdle to ask companies to produce like their own like Linux port of this game, and so there's just a lot of Stadia was a lot of like red flag decisions. I always sort of like not defended it, but at least like it was neat that the technology worked. Like it did. Like you could boot up these games instantly, play them relatively lag free as long as you weren't trying to play in a competitive fighting game, and that part of it worked and was neat. And it's like, oh, okay, well they did like what seemed like the hard part, which was the technology. It's like, oh, it's Google, they're big. Maybe they can figure out the rest as they go along. And they didn't, and then also
Instead
said,
they did the Google
this seems
thing.
hard.
Yeah. Geez, which is also in some ways it's interesting, coming off of some additional reporting around the Amazon game development situation, where was that a Schreier piece? Was that
co-bylined with another writer at Bloomberg, but Jason was one of the writers.
It basically sounds like the situation there is rough. Sounds like it's a lot of high expectations with very little, with less than the required resources, and then also expectations based around a deep lack of knowledge around what the way that games are made and what you should expect from a team and how big of a splash any game can make on you can plan for. Some real damning quotes in that piece about the leadership of that team.
Well, I think it's like you see this stuff alongside every company in the world getting into streaming, and I think not that it is easy to make a television show or a movie or what have you, but I think it is like these things are proving out that it is easier to spin up something like that. There's more of a template that you can follow to like, I want to get into Hollywood than it is to getting into, I want to make a new Call of Duty. Like it's just harder. And there isn't much of a playbook to follow in terms of how you actually do that. And so then when you bring in folks like, Amazon thing, like starts at the bottom where it's like, sounds like it was a misogynistic and terrible like place to work at the bottom, and then like as you go up you get a leadership position that like is just doesn't understand how video games even are made or what goes into that, and so you combine the sandwich of the two of those together and you have a place that has spent billions of dollars producing like more canceled games, publicly canceled games, not games that cancel behind the scenes all the time. Amazon has made this incredible habit of announcing, just doing open betas, and then being like, "Well, this didn't work.
Yep,
on to the next one," which I fully expect that colonialist MMO to go through a potentially similar arc. Didn't the game have a beta, and then they were like, "What if we delayed it for a year?"
Yeah, I think there was a long delay on it. Also, really quick, the other journalist on that piece was Priya Anand. I want to make sure I shout her out along with Jason. So yeah, the Google thing is just like also. I do want to say I do know Stadia Pro exists. I do know that there is a subscription tier on the Stadia. Please don't send corrections to me on Twitter. I know that exists, but I think a lot of people just thought that would be the product in a way because it's just what intuitively made sense. So yeah, that was
weirdly.
News.
That's what Amazon's like. I still have. I have a box somewhere in here of an Amazon controller that they sent at some point. But like Lua. They made a controller. Apparently it's fine in the same way that the Stadia controller is like fine.
Yeah.
These days it's just like make your knockoff Xbox controller and like you're good. Like Microsoft at least did that, for us is like made it like a nice template of how to make a dual stick controller and you can kind of just make that plastic mold and move forward. But Lua is pure subscription. You don't buy the games, you just buy into the subscription, and it also has partnerships with Ubisoft in the same way. We're like, hey, if you can cross save between different platforms and stream it there. But also they're just running like it's not running your Steam library. It's not just like the PC version, but it's basically just running the PC version. Like there's minimal work involved.
Right. It's not like an explicit.
It's not a port
in the way
you're just doing like UI. You're just doing some customization things to. It's not as simple as like file export Lua, but
or
it's
Luna.
A lot closer.
Luna. Lua, I think, is the programming language. Mm-hmm. That might be the programming language you need to do for Stadia. I now forget.
Well, either way, I haven't used the service, but my understanding is like the technology that works generally as well as Stadia, and I don't know that anyone's using the Amazon service, but at least has like. I mean, look, at the end of the day, it sounds like everyone's going to get, like, Amazon will probably get bored of this too when it doesn't make any money and they'll stop doing it. And, like, Microsoft's going to end up being the one that, like, had the right idea all along, was just like, hey, buy your game and then, like, just like you want to play it somewhere else, cool, like you can. It's like,
this is a value add. This
that's
is
kind of
not
like all anybody really wanted
right.
from it, at least in the, like, kind of current environment, especially given various people's bandwidth constraints and things like that. At least with Xbox, you can buy Halo, and it's like, all right, well, I'm just not going to be able to stream it from different parts of my house. Like, okay, well, then you can just download it and play it on your machine. And maybe don't do it on original Xbox, but go with God.
Totally. Some other news from last week worth hitting. We got that Mass Effect announcement, that Mass Effect Legendary Edition.
No more Ass Effect, I think.
I just saw that story.
The kids are, they're taking out some of the camera, like, I mean, there's famously
some Miranda shots in Mass Effect 2. Just deeply
it's just a shot of her ass taking up like half the frame, and look, it's a good ass. No
but
one
like,
is
not in a scene where she's supposed to be being sexy. Do you know what it's not?
It's just she's having a conversation.
Wow.
Yeah, she's like, I miss my sister. Ass shot. Let's go. My relationship with my father is in peril, just like every other character in this game. Give me that butt. Like, that's 100% how it's set up.
I want to imagine that, like we just watched the Super Bowl, and like someone in like a, like the television truck is like calling out the camera angles, and there's like some like there's some the director AI from Left 4 Dead is like, give me that ass shot.
God.
Miranda's beautiful.
So they're doing that. They're what else are they doing? They tightened up the shooting in level 5 or whatever the fuck. Okay, so the thing that I'd actually heard was like they started by looking at Mass Effect 3 and like tightening up Mass Effect 3 visually or whatever, which seems the screenshots that they released for this are just filled with lens flare in a way I don't understand how you get there.
One of them didn't make any. Like, I pasted the 3 ones I got early in like our Slack chat, and like 2 of them, like there was like one of the Mako outside. It's like, oh, this you can really see like the work they put in. Maybe you don't like the artistic approach or whatever, but like you could see like the stark difference. There was one of like a character model. I was like, oh, okay, I can see it. Yes.
Is that the one with the flare?
Maybe that
also?
is it. But there's just like the character model doesn't look any different. It's just like there's just a Control V, like, I mean, Photoshop for a while had that thing where maybe it still has it, where you could just like put in like the star shine, like the people would always put into there. I don't know what that one was called, but it feels like the equivalent of the Abrams lens flare.
100%. And like it doesn't make a lot of sense visually to me. Anyway, so I'm a big Mass Effect fan. I did that Mass Effect game for them last fall. And so I've been like eagerly awaiting this. And I think that there is like, and you also know what a weird stickler I am after the Demon Souls thing, where
Sure.
I'm like, don't fuck it up too much. Don't make it too good. I'm Austin. And there's stuff here that like, so there's a thing on their website that lets you do like a drag and compare. Do you know what I mean? Like one of those things where it's like, here's what the new game looks like. Here's what the old game looks like. And it's footage on the planet Virmire in Mass Effect 1, which is the one of these that I'm most curious about, because that's the game that like doesn't fit the mold of 2 or 3 in terms of structure, but also in terms of like action feel. Like it's just not. Have you played these games, either of you?
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
no,
I played-
I loved all 3.
1 and 2.
So 1 just is not built to be a cover shooter in the same way. It has cover and you shoot.
It feels like Baby BioWare's first action game, and has like all the crud that goes along with that, but it's forgotten in your mind's eye because like oh man, the story here like was
really
fantastic.
Yeah, is really fun. Yeah. So the thing that I'm like, I'm curious about how they're going to change that stuff. They've said basically they're going to start at Mass Effect 3 and then kind of like use whatever that version of the game looks like as the model to try to make the other games look and feel as close to that as possible, which does mean some gameplay changes.
Wait,
in Mass
and
Effect 1. And yeah, so like one of the things that they've basically said is like, hey, we've made the guns feel different in Mass Effect 1 between them, in the same way that Mass Effect 2 and 3 have different gun feels between whatever gun. It's like, there's like 3 or 4 or 5 pistols or whatever, right? In Mass Effect 2 and 3. And each one feels substantially different. And I think that was like a good way of doing differentiation. But Mass Effect 1 just had like loot tables and just tons of pistols. They all basically felt the same. They just did different effects or different damage or whatever. Right. So one of the things that they've said is basically like, certain weapons will feel a little bit more distinct. I think they're making it so that all weapons can be used by all classes in Mass Effect 1, which is a huge difference from how that game first started. Apparently they've changed the way that like aiming feels. So like, yeah, it's going to feel different. But then even weirder for me is the art stuff, as always, where like, again, there's this kind of drag and compare thing in Virmire, where the original Virmire, which is the place, I guess, light spoilers, is the place where you first confront Saren, and you have that big conversation with Rex on the beach, and Rex is pissed because like there's good stuff in the lab, and you got to go blow up the lab, and he's like, I need that Shepard. This is my people. Blah, whatever. Yeah. I'm Rex. I like Rex. Shoutouts to Rex. That place has this in the original has this very like overcast, you're stuck in these canyons, everything feels kind of dire the whole time, and like the new footage is like God rays coming down through the fucking trees, and everything's a little bit brighter and greener and lusher, and it's like this feels, my guess is there is some concept art somewhere that looks more like the new version, but the version of it in my mind was like not, there were no God rays on Virmire that day. Right. There was just sadness and loss. And so yeah, like I'm you know me, I'm in it a little bit on like, okay, how much is going to change here? I'm also just someone who's like, y'all ever go through the Mass Effect story in your head recently? Because like, I remember really liking Mordin Solus. Today, what? I feel like maybe our relationship with Mordin Solus would be more critical given his relationship to genocide.
Yeah. But I mean, he likes to sing.
He does love to sing. You got me. He does love to sing show tunes.
I mean, that would be fascinating. I mean, like
totally.
I think loves Mordin Solus, the scientist who sings show tunes.
Yeah, I do think it's a game that or a series that like sort of like it came before a certain discourse turns in how we talk about games, but now occupies a certain like legendary like for a lot of people, like Mass Effect like crosses like interests and like just there are so many people that don't just like Mass Effect, don't just love Mass Effect. It's like they identify with Mass Effect, and I will be so curious to see what is the cultural reexamination of. I'm sure it's still like it's a great sci-fi story, but like it's like those beats along the way. And these characters,
I think about stuff like the Geth and Quarian stuff, which like at the time was like yeah, this is like a thoughtful examination of like the cycle of war and depression. And I'm like, is that where we're going to end up again with the re-examination of it when we are more ready to openly talk about the inspirations and the ways in which the analogs in our own life. I think a lot about like Emmanuel's piece last year about The Last of Us 2, and it's the way it draws on like Palestine and the occupation of Palestine and that situation. And like, will Mass Effect be able to withstand, or what will not withstand? It'll withstand it fine. It's going to sell 1 billion copies, and people are going to continue. The vast majority of people who loved it are going to continue to love it. But I'm curious from like the critical community, what sort of response we'll see with that tighter lens on it, you know, and that sharper lens for talking about the social and political. You know, we'll see. Also, I just hope that it's still fun to play Vanguard, my favorite class of maybe anything ever. That game felt good.
Yeah, I don't think I'll play through all 3 games again, but I'm really just curious to play at least some substantial amount of the first game.
Yeah,
like both from a what is it like to revisit that, and then to like how far they go with the the scalpel to try and you know, it was interesting because in one of the interviews they talked about, so well, why not just remake it? And they ran into a similar issue when I did a feature on the Sam & Max like remaster they did on Steam, when they didn't want to use the Telltale engine anymore, like the proprietary tech that Telltale had made for all their storytelling, and they were switching over to Unreal. What they found was like it broke all the lighting and a bunch of other things. And so it's like, when I asked, like, well, why did you guys go, you know, why did the team spend so much time, like, redoing all this stuff? Like, well, when we ported it, it broke. So what are we going to do? Just, like, do the old one? Or, like, wouldn't you take the opportunity to, like, relight it and, you know, use some new technology? And I saw, you know, in an interview with Game Informer, they mentioned that, like, yeah, they looked into porting it to Unreal Engine 4. It was built on Unreal Engine 3. And when they started that process, it did all that. It broke the scripting, it broke the lighting, and it's like, oh, so we would just be rebuilding the game, not from scratch, but like a substantial amount of work.
Right.
And so it was like, it was actually just kind of interesting to hear like a lot of the texture, like the textures looking nicer in Mass Effect 1 and things like that are like, it's just AI. Like we're just like using AI to like make that look better as opposed to like finding, you know, like original like 4K assets or things like that. So
right.
I don't know. It continues to be fascinating to see the different ways that video games revisit.
Totally. Yeah, themselves. And I think I beat Mass Effect 1 4 times. I really like that game, or that game, like you said, is like deep and important to my identity in a way that's like I was a fucking Mass Effect 1 guy for a decade.
Well, it's cool,
so
cool to revisit
cool
to revisit like your own sort of like how you view games, and it's like, all right. I still have a place in my heart for this game, but maybe not the place that it had before.
They're also changing how the Mako drives, which, as a Mako stan, I don't know. I'm not ready for changes.
Well, aren't they also adding, like, Commander Shepard being able to, like, pick 2 different, you know... Was that true in the... Was it just a male Commander Shepard in the first one?
No. You could be Jen. Okay. You could be, yeah. The thing in Mass Effect 1 is...
Didn't they? Or maybe I'm not...
I'm not sure.
Okay, all right. I thought there was something involving her.
You might have something that I don't know.
No, I might.
Is it about butts? Can Commander Shepard have a better butt now?
Yeah, give people.
They are changing.
They are adding like better, like black hairstyles, right?
They are absolutely yes. And I think just more hair in general, because there are not a lot of great hairstyles in that game, as is. So I'm happy to get that. I'm happy to get a broader range of customization in that shit. And you know, and also like I am just curious about like, okay, like how are they changing, you know, boss encounter, you know, balancing and shit like that they've talked about. I'm curious about
Still
all
gotta
that.
fight a baby at some point during that series.
Yeah, you do have to do that. That's true. You do have to do it. It's a Reaper baby.
The end of Mass Effect 2. You played that one.
I did play that one. I remember this.
It's like, it kind of looks like a it just looks like a
No, I remember this.
It's like what if the Terminator was a baby? And big, also big, giant, not a little big. One.
Big baby.
Here, I got a question for the audience. For people who are going to replay this, and you already played it once, are you going to, and you romance someone in your original playthrough, are you keeping those romances, or are you using this as an opportunity to go down a different path? And I get that some people play as like, okay, I'm role playing because I've done this. This is how I play games. Like, okay, I'm role playing this character, da 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 da. But I'm so curious if you had like in your head a canonical playthrough where like I romanced Liara in this run, or I romanced Kaiden because that's the sort of person I am.
Are you reliving your original run? It's like,
and
I
if
have
you're
enough
changing
distance.
it, do you feel bad about it even a little bit?
Right.
Is this a new you who's having new experiences in Mass Effect? Or is
Yeah,
this
the
like
ship
you're
of
going
Theseus, meets Back to the Future. I need to know. Yeah, exactly.
That's fast. I didn't think, because I don't know that I remember enough about those choices to, maybe it would come back to me playing it.
I bet it will.
But I don't know, because that's hard, because that's such a defining part of playing those games. The notion of going back, are you just trying to re-experience the same emotional highs? Or as like, this is like an alt timeline. Like this is the
Exactly. It's
multiverse.
AU. We're doing it. Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Which at that point,
Who dies?
Which at that point, I wonder. Do you have to? Because I've never, I'm famously pretty much play games once and move on.
Yeah.
But I wonder, do you almost have to force yourself to adopt the act of role playing, or else will you just necessarily emotionally fall into playing those same choices unless you tell yourself, I have to do it a different way, and I have to give myself rules and make choices up front, or else I will just do what I did before, and maybe that makes you happy.
Maybe it makes you happy. Scratches the old itch.
But I just think that's a fascinating question of like, do you have to establish rules for yourself
Email
up front?
us, gamingadvice.com. I want to know. I want to know what people feel like. Patrick's like, nah, email me. I got a story.
No, the freelancers out there, pitch us on that. There are people that know Mass Effect better than me.
Yes,
But if
totally.
you have a story, like that would be a good one in the run up to the release of this. And
Here's my other thought. How are they going to tease the Mass Effect 4 in this game? What new thing are they going to add?
They've got to add Easter eggs or something, right? Like,
is there going to be a fourth color?
Well, they've said they're keeping the extended edition.
Okay.
And endings. But the thing is, I disagree with them having done that in the first place, but agree it's probably the right move
at this point.
This is what you're going to do.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess I'm curious what if you're gonna go back when you do a remake and in some ways it's a retcon. So it's like, why not go a little bit further and like sprinkle in some hints about what's coming next. Especially because they're
Is there any way to experience the original ending currently?
YouTube.
Like that's it, right? Like you can't actually.
Or I guess
play
if you bought a
game.
Mass Effect 3 disc for your 360 and just didn't patch it.
Yeah, that'll do it.
Okay.
So yeah, you can do it if you were like determined.
Because I never. That's the one that I never got through. I like played like 2 hours of it and then got distracted. So I don't.
The endings of
I don't even know. I heard about that, but I never like looked into it because like I was like, I'm gonna get to that game eventually. Someday, which I guess is when this fucking Legendary Edition drops.
Having played the first two, you should at least. I mean, the Leviathan DLC is like really fantastic. From just like a
3. Is that 3 DLC?
I think it's. I think it's 3. Because I remember famously at Giant Bomb, everyone disliked that game. Largely. I mean, I think 3 is a pretty uneven experience in general, but like the ending is like it really did not stick whatsoever. That we like everyone on the staff had like a really sour taste about the game, and then Brad played the game after all the DLC came out, and the DLC was pretty good, and specifically this one where it involves some underwater stuff. There's like some really cool fucking lore stuff that felt like it was specifically written as like, well, so here's a bunch of shit we didn't get in the game. Would you like some exposition? And it's like, yes, I would. And it's really good shit. And if I remember correctly, Brad ended up loving all of it. And then essentially to troll us, like made it his favorite game of the year, thus forcing us to like have to debate him on the merits of like it sneaking in. I think he just wanted it to get to like number 10 on our top 10 list. He's like, what's my number 1? How could this not be in our top 10? It's like, well, because this game is trash, friend. Like none of us liked it just because you played the, the complete
good
edition.
version. But then Brad makes the case, right? It's like, that's the version that's out now. That's the version.
Yeah.
If we're not talking about the launch game, we're talking,
I know.
I don't miss fighting over top 10s at Giant Bomb, but there is a it's like becoming a sharpened knife, and there's a beauty in that. You know?
Yeah, like I'm glad I experienced it. Like you come out of that forged anew.
Yeah,
and you,
I know.
either
What's good
become a
to
knife
know
or
is
you
I
become a
have that
bat.
mode. It's out there. If I ever need it again, I could reach into myself and produce that me. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Lord, forgive me. Time to go back to the old me.
What did Bugs Bunny do in a past life?
He was a killer, man. All right. Any other news hit type things we want to do from last week? I don't even remember if there was anything else big.
I think that's the
stuff right there. There
All
it is
the-
right
I think
there.
GameStop has. I mean, I'll shout out a couple pieces I wrote.
Yes.
The GameStop stock has, the bubble burst, but it didn't burst in the way that people thought it might, which would be like a real precipitous either rise or fall. Instead, it's just kind of like. It's just sort of kind of. I think I saw this morning it was at like $60 or something like that. So I've two stories that have gone over the last couple of weeks. One was about folks that got on board and made a bunch of money, and these were largely folks that didn't have a lot of money, and they either went from having $7,000 to $200,000 and wanted to use that money to pay down college debt or help buy their parents a house that they never had, or as small as like I'm gonna pay some vet bills or like buy a nice bottle of scotch. And then I wrote a piece that went up, I think last Thursday, that was following up because the vast majority of those people had not sold at the time that I wrote it. And so I wanted the follow up was following these people and like, when did they sell? Why did they sell? And where did they kind of end up financially? And like the short version is like, it's unfortunately what you would expect. It's like most people lost like the vast majority, where someone goes from, the person I profiled who was a 21-year-old art student who imagined they were up to 100K, imagined a world where maybe they never had to work a 9 to 5 and that they could like invest that or at least like, use that to like minimize how much they'd have to do in like a sort of like a normal job and could just like be an artist. And they got out like up to 40, which is still like not nothing, but that's $40,000 is a lot of money. I don't want to like, but that's not
a
like,
lot of money.
it's not like,
but it's not
change your life, like, no longer engage in capitalism, sort of money.
Yeah, you're still going to need to do work for the rest of your life.
The other people who, took got denied, a disability check in the UK, tried to roll money into that to like make that up, didn't work out. Someone that put in $75,000 of their savings and became a millionaire, but it's only in theory, and then they didn't sell it and they pretty much lost all of it. Kept the 75, kept their investment, but went from a theoretical millionaire.
Did they just not want to sell?
I saw the receipts. They held on to the gamma squeeze theory that there would be an instance where you could turn $1 million into, 2, 3, 4 million. And
take the mill. Get
out. You gotta
get that seventh
rules.
number on screen. You gotta hit that. I can't. Well, again, I think a big part of this too is just like I just never trusted. We already talked about all this shit. We already talked. We don't need to rehash it all. But Godspeed to anyone who went deep on that and didn't come out the other side feeling good about it. So yeah, we should take a break, come back, and talk about some games we played. I played some Nioh 2. I know Cado did too. I'm curious what Cado thought. So when we come back, let's talk about some Nioh 2.
I'm up 60 in Doge though, so
$60?
No,
60 cents.
Yeah, $60 in Doge. So like Dogecoin.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Much
BRB.
dollars.
All right, we're back. Cado, you're playing Nioh 2.
Yeah.
You're playing on PC?
I'm playing on PC.
I'm playing on PS5.
I heard people. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh my god.
Can we?
Are you kidding me, Cado?
You didn't see this?
I did. No, I saw it. That's why I jumped to. Are you kidding me? Go ahead, Patrick. You tell the story.
So in our
Cado, you'll have a chance to defend yourself in a moment.
Well, okay. Well, it's everything air quotes. And we have various Slack channels, and one of them is like a codes channel, and like I manage a lot of like the code distribution and for Waypoint, and so I'm often like putting things in there, like here's the embargoes, here's the codes. This needs to be a priority for someone, and this is just kind of up for grabs. Anyone can do whatever they want with it, sort of thing. And I pasted one in there for Austin wanted to check out Nioh 2. And so originally I was got a PC code, then I was able to get a PS5 code, and so I gave the PS5 one to Austin. And I thought about redeeming the PC one, and I was like, let's be realistic. I'm probably not going to get a chance to play this, so I'll just put this in here, see if someone else wants to goof with it for the pod or just for funsies. And then I notice
importantly, normally what we do when we paste codes in there is we go copy the whole email we got from a publisher that says, "Welcome to the world of Nioh 2."
And it usually says, "Hey Patrick," and then "Welcome to the world of Nioh 2. Here's the embargo shit, and then here's your code." It's like I just dropped that in there, like had put in several more after that, I was just moving on with my day. And then I saw someone use like the rarely used like threaded like reply function of Slack. And I'm like, what are that like 4 responses to this like code I put in? Well, it turns out that Cado just took the code, like I put in the text that was just the embargo information and a Steam code, and it did not have like "Welcome to the world of Nioh" in it.
It just said embargo information, all impressions, assets, live streams, etc.
Yeah, so Cado just took that code, dumped it in the Steam.
We should read the actual. Matt Galt says, "Cool, but what's the game?" Cado, can you read your message?
I am so sorry, but it's Nioh 2, and I thought I could just check the game without redeeming it, but I was wrong. Grimace emoji.
In Cado's defense, I believe in all the console platforms. You can do this.
Yes!
You can, when you put it into Xbox or PlayStation, and Switch. Maybe not Switch, but like several of them, you can like put it in, and it says like, "Would you like to redeem?" And on Steam, it doesn't do that. You put that shit in, and it's like, boy, your library just leveled up. You got a new video game.
You put that code in, and it goes, "Welcome to the world of Nioh 2."
Which hard drive of yours would like to enter the world of Nioh, Cado?
Yo, seriously though, that game was big. I had to delete a bunch of shit.
That game is big. How you finding it?
Good.
I've heard the PC version has had some issues, some like fidelity to performance issues. I don't know if you've run into that or not.
No, I'm still pretty early on because I had a lot of trouble with the first area because I didn't see a path and I tried to fight the thing. There's a big
horse.
There's a big boy. Yeah, right at the beginning.
Yeah, I found that path and I was like, I'm not moving on. I'm gonna beat this horse demon.
Did you?
Eat shit. Yeah, I beat that horse demon.
Yeah.
It took way too many tries, but I did it.
I cannot, I'm having trouble, like, I just came off of finishing Demon Souls, and the footsies game is very, very different in this.
Yes.
Like, in Demon Souls, my preferred build is always Dex, and I do the little thing where you, like, dip in and out of an enemy's aggro range so that they swing, and you can step back without having to even hit dodge and use stamina, and they'll whiff, right? And then you go in for whatever. That is not the type of game this is. It feels like you are using your stamina more, and correct me if I'm wrong, but does your stamina go down when you get hit?
Oh, it might. Yeah, it does. I'm watching footage as we talk so that I can be up on that. And I think it does go down when you get hit. That's brutal.
It's brutal.
I mean, it does.
Because like that's one of the things that you automatically like, okay, I got hit. Fucking get the fuck out. Dodge. I'm like, wait.
I mean, another thing that's different is you can block after you got hit in this.
Right.
You can start blocking mid-combo, which I don't think you can do in Demon Souls.
No, totally. Like,
so like those differences are huge in so many ways.
Yeah.
It's also just a faster game than any of the Souls games are.
I think it's slower.
When I say faster, what I actually mean is a lot of the enemy attacks have horizontal movement with them, and they close that distance, which is why you cannot just quick hop back.
Sure. Yes.
Right.
I feel like what I needed to do was slow down then my like Demon Souls speed, given that whenever you get hit, it also takes stamina, which means you can't react.
Yeah.
Except for to block, but even blocking still takes stamina down. So like, it's the stamina situation is fucking rough. Like,
have you mastered the key pulse yet?
I'm getting there, which is a very interesting. That's like a little interesting wrinkle, but I keep thinking it's my stamina meter is bigger than it is, and like certain attacks really fucking drain it in a much larger chunk than you would expect. But like, it's just that thing about like, oh, if you get hit, your stamina also goes down, which means your ability to dodge away is also lessened, especially if you like whiff at the end of a combo, your stamina's already low, you get hit. It's made me turn. I've learned to be more reactive, right? It's like I have to know the opening is there before I attack, whereas like in Demon Souls, I was making my openings by like, dipping in and out of the aggro range and trying to get them to throw a swing that misses. With this, I feel like the range at which enemies aggro is actually kind of different because they have a few more like long range attacks.
A lot of spear dudes in that first area.
Yeah. Lots of or like the like that one, that like very first small demon that is also a spear dude, but like he like throwing spears and shit. Yeah.
Which you can get that ability, which is wild. That's also I mean, that's the other thing that separates these games, Nioh, from the Soul series, is like there's lots of skills, passive and active, that you can get.
Yeah.
That some of which change the situation you're talking about, right? Like so I'm playing Switchglaive, which is like a Bloodborne weapon.
Yeah.
And Katana, just regular like sword. And the regular, both of them actually have a move that is about countering an incoming attack. And the Switchglaive one, you kind of go into like an Obi-Wan strike me down, I'll be more powerful than you can ever imagine stance. So just like, I'm holding my shit up straight in front of me, please don't hit me right now, psych, I got you. And you do like a little backspin behind them. And the Katana one is even more direct, like it's just like you do a counter and then hit them. And both of those have made it so that I can be a little bit more, I'm still reactive in the way you're describing, but you don't have to be as like precious with range. Do you know what I mean? If they come in on you quick, you can throw that parry up and have it. And like that's the thing, is like parry is a skill that you have to unlock from your dress sphere. And then your likewise, like backstabs are not a thing you start the ability to do in this game. That's a ninjutsu skill that you have to get after you unlock the ninjutsu tree. Okay. Yeah. So, what weapons are you using? There's like 10 different weapons and all have their own different combos and shit.
Which was fun. Also, very much just kind of, obviously, it's 2, so I assume this is like just carrying on somewhat from 1. Did you play 1?
I played some of 1, but mechanically, it's definitely carrying on from 1. Right. Narratively, I think that there's overlap, but you're not playing the character from 1.
Right. That was an interesting thing they did during the character creation. The quotes from your mother and father as you like pick things was pretty fun. But
I hope my child has strong arms. Yeah. And then the mother is like, or dainty arms, we'll love our child either way. Dainty magical arms. Like, okay, yeah. Sure. Thanks, mom and dad. Which one of you is a demon? Is it both of you? I don't know.
Oh, I think
mom's a demon.
Yeah.
That's what the encyclopedia said.
Really? Okay, I have to read. Well, because of that opening cutscene, it's like, oh, is that maybe dad? But I guess not. I guess it's just a run of your
maybe it's demon. Both of them. I don't know who dad is. My encyclopedia tells me that my character's mother is some sort of demon, I believe.
Okay,
or some sort of other. Maybe it's a different type of spirit. I don't know.
Right. Shit. Oh yeah. That opening.
A yokai. She's just a yokai. She's not a demon specifically.
Not an oni.
Not an oni, but a yokai.
So you can put her in a watch.
Correct.
Cool. The opening where you have like, they just drop you in and it's like, here's 10 weapons, just pick one, pick 2. You know, I went through that entire circle of stuff and like tried out and I was like not really understanding stances, because they don't tell you anything until after you've picked two things, and then a little menu appears like, do you want to do the tutorial now? It's like, oh well, actually, if I knew about stances, I might have made these decisions a little differently, and you can go back. But I ended up with the like standard katana and the I don't know what the name is, but the ball and chain with the sickle on one side. Kusarigama, yes.
Yeah.
Which I've just defaulted to using the Kusarigama in high stance because it means I can throw the spiked ball end at people from like a mile away and just like whack them. And you
should try low stance when they're in close, because you get really fast hits, which will just drop their stamina really quick.
Nice. This is the thing that I'm afraid of doing still right now, is being close to anyone.
Fair.
But yeah, it's just like a lot of unlearning muscle memory, and like as much as these games get compared, it's mostly like a structural thing, like the bonfire or like system where you're like looking for the next checkpoint essentially, and like the losing your souls and having to go pick them up situation, like those sorts of things are the same. But other than that, like
I've never once in a Souls game turned into a big demon to just button mash my way through a boss encounter. Sometimes, because I can do that here.
I've never gotten a drop that has like plus like
Life
three different
whatever,
four different skills on it, because that's not how weapons
This is a
work.
loot game. That's right. Like the Nioh series, I don't remember how much Nioh 1 is like this, because I only
like
put
it was
like 5 or 6 hours. Maybe it was. Yeah, it must have been. But like this game is a loot game in a real fucking way. And if you were like, I would love to play a game with the structure of a Souls game, but where I'm just getting drops constantly. Yeah. Like, you kill a boss and it's like Diablo. It's like, oh shit, look at all this shit that popped out of that guy's head.
Explosion.
100%. So if you want the numbers to go up, there's a lot of them here, and I think that I'm enjoying it. I'm gonna see how deep into it I get. I don't know. It's one of those games that I know you can put 100 hours into, and I do not have 100 hours in my life currently. So
I'm also curious. Like, you get like a little opening cutscene and then not much else. And I'm curious how...
You meet that guy with the monkey.
I haven't yet.
Oh.
I'm still really early.
Okay.
I keep dying. I'm bad at it.
So you've not gotten to the first full boss yet?
No.
Okay.
What I mean is, if the first full boss isn't the big horse demon that kicked my ass a bunch of times.
In the big open field, you mean? I mean, I don't know. I don't know who the first full boss is. I'm just saying. There's a boss arena in the level you're on.
Okay, yeah.
And you'll get there and you'll beat him. I believe in you.
Thank you. I think I just need to try to fucking delete all of the muscle memory I've been using over the past couple of weeks, as I really...
I mean, I will say the other thing then that is worth saying that you haven't gotten to yet is the ways in which this is just different from Souls games, is that it's mission based. It's like, once you beat this, and you've seen a little bit of this, is like there's a big map of the world, and you kind of go into a level, you load into a level, do your shit, and then leave, and you can replay levels to grind stuff. There's different missions in certain levels, stuff like that. So like that structure is like pretty distinct in some way. Like, this is actually more like Demon Souls than it is like anything else, because you're
kind of like Archstone, but more
dumping into Arch. Yeah, totally. But it feels even somehow less connected to that, like the way that those are to me, which is strange. But
those, I really enjoyed Demon Souls like level design a lot.
Yeah.
That game is just very fucking good. Like, I actually have come away from it considering it probably the better of the Souls of like all of them. As much as everyone really loves Dark Souls, I think the level design in Demons is tighter in a way that allows for a little bit. It takes off some of the stress. I don't know. I think like there's already a lot of stress in Souls games, given how easy it is to lose it all, but the like tightly designed loop is very satisfying in those levels.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I don't think Nioh 2 has the level design. Not yet, at least. Maybe I'll hit a level and I'm like, yo, this is really, really sharp.
Right.
But right now,
Well, those games
I'm
are
not
also
getting
both
that.
meant to be like so sprawling. Like,
Yes,
like
totally.
I played like 15 hours of Nioh, and then I think I read some review at Polygon that was like, and it took me 110 hours to finish it, and I was like,
Yeah, so,
oh, okay, and
I know it's
obviously all caveats that I understand, totally
Mm-hmm.
get why people like games that are
if I was
long.
not, if I had a different, if it was 10 years ago,
College
I would-
Patrick that was into Souls would look at Nioh and be like, this looks like a meal.
This is a
So especially because those games have loot, so there's like a kind of a different.
Right.
Is there loot in the second one?
Yes.
oh yeah,
Uh-huh.
big time.
But I remember that was also one of the problems I had with the first one was that loot management sucked. It was a huge pain in the ass.
It's still not great. I really wish I could mark a thing in my inventory to sell it as soon as I go back to a shrine. Just like, please just let me hit a button that says like, this is junk. Just fucking sell this
Right.
this terrible sword that I'm never going to use. But yeah. Anyway, it's very cool. I'm glad I'm playing it. I know I get why people really love the series, especially folks who I think like Dark Souls, but also really love character action games.
Right.
It has that like high degree, especially when I say that, I don't mean people like me who like character action games, who like playing through character action games once. I mean people who like character action games and like to get like S ranks on their levels.
Right.
Because this game has that ceiling, has that
huge
high
variety.
ceiling.
I think that's a big part. Like
Yes.
there's variety in the Souls games, but the Nioh games like really lean
Big time.
into that to a degree
Like-
that is just
You can absolutely like figure out combo chains by switching stances at the right time and shit like that. Like,
100%, totally.
and yet also
Patrick.
it's very difficult.
Oh, go
Sorry,
ahead.
no, I was just gonna, and is also extremely like punishing when you get hit. Right, like it's got those two
Oh,
ends.
yeah.
Right, where like if you get
Yes.
hit in a character action game, it's a lot of times like, okay, well I'm managing my life, but like you're managing life and stamina so
Mhm.
at such a high level that it's like, yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah, totally. Patrick, you been playing anything? You still on that Bowser grind? What are you up to?
Yeah. Okay. So Bowser. So I can't talk about it till. Although I will probably write a review for Wednesday morning. I think
Okay.
when the embargo is up. And our podcast schedule is. I don't know when I'll talk. Like it might be a couple weeks
Monday.
out because
No.
we have
Oh, we're
Monday
off
off.
on
Monday
so,
off.
Right.
We have to figure something out.
Yeah. So one of my favorite game reviewer Twitter tropes is you're
Yeah.
under embargo and you're definitely not supposed to talk about how you feel about the game.
Mhm.
So I never do this because it's like it bugs me every time they do it. But I'm gonna do it here. I'm really looking forward to talking about Bowser's Fury.
Hmm.
I say.
Okay.
Huh. Interpret that how you may.
Yeah.
Yeah, people always say that about games they don't like. That's definitely what people. That's why they.
That's why they
do
say
that.
it.
That's why they say it.
That's why I say it. I come out of a movie theater and I hated a movie. I'm like, can't wait to talk about this shit. I'm going to go in on it. Shit won't be left standing. They'll pull this out of theaters by the time I'm done. Not because of anything offensive. It was just bad.
Damn.
I will say I 100% it. So
Oh, okay. Wow, you just said that's the other Twitter
Right.
thing
Yeah.
that like I'm allowed to say I beat it all the way.
Yeah, I beat it and like everything in it.
Everything in it is all done.
That's
Yeah.
I'm a. You know me.
You're
I have
just a
lot of ti- I have
completionist generally.
right. I have a lot of time on my hands,
Yeah.
and I gotta make
You
sure.
love collectibles. You love
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
You got all the
Love-
flags in Assassin's Creed 1.
There's
You-
150
classic.
things to collect. Like double it, please. You know.
I've heard you say that recently. I remember you said that very recently about
Like on this
Mario- yeah,
podcast, I was
totally.
like, Assassin's Creed Valhalla, 10 hours out of 100. Let's go.
Let's go. I'm a glutton for punishment.
Let's go somewhere else.
A magical kingdom of mushrooms and other stuff. Who could say? All right.
yeah,
well, we'll
I'll-
talk about it at some future
Yeah.
point.
The other thing is, I just briefly want to revisit. Apologize to CyberShadow, a game that I think
You did it dirty.
I don't know if I did it dirty. I think
Patrick did it dirty.
I think the first two levels of this game are bad.
okay.
And give the impression that it is a not a bad, but more just. I think the way I pitched it was like, yeah, do you like games like Strider, Ninja Gaiden, like here's another one of those, and like it's fine.
That
It
is how you
scratches a
pitched
certain
it.
itch.
Yeah.
Yes. And then I was like, I don't, I was like, maybe I'll get back to this at some point, or I'll be like waiting for like an oil change, and like I'll like pick this up again. But like I'm gonna work on some other stuff. And I just saw like a couple of people on Twitter that were like really like had beat the last boss, were like just like on it hard, and were like, this game fucking rules. And I was like, okay, like maybe I missed something. Like I'm gonna go and give this another shot. And went in and played like the third and fourth, and I just finished the fifth level last night. And I just think that the first two areas are just like not particularly interesting. You don't have nearly enough interesting abilities, and I just think like the level design, the like enemy design, like everything about like everything after like the opening like 90 minutes of the game is just so much better. Like the boss encounters are fucking cool as hell, and like really these really exciting like one-on-one matches where you're doing a lot of fun pattern recognition. It's
Hollow
different
Knight
than like
type stuff.
Yeah, and it's
Boss
like
fight wise,
yeah, like a lot of like you walk in, it's just like you walk in and just to borrow, from Souls, it's not a Souls type game, but like where you walk in and have that feeling of like, oh, I don't know, like I'm not going to beat this. Like I walked in and fought this like robotic water snake last night, and or at least the bosses I've encountered have like 2 levels of health meters, and sometimes that means that they'll switch sort of like how they fight halfway through. In this case, it was just like it's just 2 health meters. You just need to whittle both of those down. I just walked in for like the first half an hour. It's like, what? Like I'm getting like 4 hits in. Like I just none of this makes any sense. And so I just kept, looking at the different like there's such really beautiful, subtle animations that are happening like all around you that are giving you different cues of like things you should pay attention to. And then by the end of it, the one that I fought, like I like barely got touched and, made my way to the end. And it was like really, just really satisfying. And so, yeah, I have come around on that game, and now I think it is, the first 2 levels are just and then from there, like it spikes really hard in a way that, I found to be really satisfying. So if you were maybe turned off of it because of my recommendation, I think there's a reason to come back to it. I've found that it gets really interesting as it goes further in.
Cool. Well, I'm glad to hear that thing takes a turn for the positive.
Yeah.
Cado, do you have anything else?
All right. No.
I'm gonna quickly just shout out some stuff because one of the things that was happening last week. Also, I guess is it still happening? That Steam Spring?
Yeah.
It's not spring yet, so I don't know why. It's just called the Steam Game Festival. It's not called the Spring. Okay.
Yeah, this is like every indie releasing a demo for their game.
Exactly. And so
everyone trying to drive up their watch list.
Yeah, 100%. Listen, I can't hate them for it. I played a few things. The biggest thing I want to shout out is Black Book, which is a deck builder, like a Slay the Spire, but it's very built around narrative in a way that's like, I don't even want to say more like Griftlands because it's way more beyond that. It is like, it feels more like an RPG in many ways. You are, it's made by a team from East Europe. I don't remember what country they're from. But very much like Slavic myth. They are from Russia. And it is one of the most stylish and polished things that I've played in like a demo festival. I think that they maybe released this as like a prologue last year too. You were playing a woman whose, I want to say husband, has killed himself. And the priests, of course, have all said that means he goes to hell. And you're like, no, I won't stand for that. That's no good. I'm going to become a witch and get him back from hell. Oh. And so it is just totally seeped in Slavic mythology, in this kind of Eastern European mythology around, making deals with the spirits of the field and then trying to defeat or one of the first missions you get is like the windmill stops at night, and it's not because the wind stops, it's because the local demons have turned on the windmill. And so you're like getting encyclopedia entries about the various kind of myths and legends and rituals of the area. You know, like there's an entire thing about how this one certain type of house is constructed around a set of rules. For instance, like there's a corner called the Red Corner that has like red cloth put out, and now is filled with like the icons of saints, but historically had been like little statues of gods. And if you're, you know, one of the things you're supposed to do is come into a house and like, you know, do a little bow to it and say a quick prayer or whatever, even if there's no religious icons there. And that's because it's commingled with the ancient devils that used to be in this place, you know, basically, right? And keep them the fuck away. There's a lot of like telling people that they should have like blessed their meals before they ate because now they didn't. And now that means that the little fucking hobgoblin that lives underneath thinks that they're invited to the meal and they're going to come ruin your fucking plates at night because you didn't do the blessing to let them know, stay the fuck away. It's also just visually really interesting. You're moving around the world. There's a map that's like going point to point, like a Slay the Spire type thing, but it looks more like a map in like a notebook, you know, where you've been like, all right, here's the windmill, here's my house, here's a little lake. But then also in each of the major locations you go to, you're clicking around like an adventure game. You're like moving through the fields by clicking through the fields and looking for little like pickups, or maybe you'll find some herbs that can restore your health, or I found a pickup once that like broke my enemy's defense. And I just want to say again that like this game just looks visually so good. There's so much great lighting work happening around like these like fields and these old houses. It's when I said it was like polished in that way, I think that's kind of what I mean. There's a moment where you're running through a field and these crows kick up and it's just like, damn, this looks great. When you confront that windmill demon, like there's a bit where you see some other demons, like you get up to the top of the windmill and you look out over the town that you've kind of wandered up through, and one of the windmill blades goes by and it's just covered in little fucking gremlins laughing at you. And it's just like a great kick. It's so good. So that's a demo that's worth playing. It's only like an hour long. And I also think that the basic card game mechanics are cool. The way it works is that you have a spell book, and that spell book is sort of like your deck, right? And it is your deck. And so you're like adding and removing pages from it. But then every turn, instead of having mana or energy or whatever that a lot of these card games have, you have like 2 scroll pages and 1 key page. And your various pages in your various cards basically either have a scroll icon or a key icon. And that means that like, okay, I can use one of these lesser key abilities to maybe modify my bigger scroll attacks in some way, or there's lots of really just good card mechanics around, status effects and things that stick around from one turn to another or stuff like that. I'm really curious to see this full game because it's 100% like captures the kind of feeling that I think that the studio is going for in terms of sharing local myth and legend and kind of this very particular history. When I say very particular, again, it's like reading through this encyclopedia feels like someone telling me about interesting historical beliefs from this place 100 years ago or 200 years ago. And it works so well. It's visually so stunning. So that's the big one I would recommend from this demo thing. Again, it's called Black Book. I played another card game from this mix called Jupiter Moon's Mecha Prologue, which is another deck builder. And like I think that it has like a really good basic structure. You know how in MechWarrior it's like left arm, right arm, torso, and you have like you're drawing stuff in. Like BattleTech does this too, obviously. That is like, what if that is your deck? So every piece of equipment you add is like, okay, I've added this new, laser gun to my left arm. That means I now get these cards added to my deck. Okay, I've added this heat sink, which means I get these cards added to my deck. And that stuff works really well. And I think it's like it was like a game I clicked and played through for the full demo, and I like mind empty, cards go up, lasers come out. But I think it was a really easy demo in a way that like I never felt like that scratch that a good card game gives me, where I'm like, shit, my resources are low. Like, no, I'm healing through everything. Nothing can touch me. I'm invincible. And it's a demo, so like whatever. Maybe the demo is in some ways more about getting feedback on UI or more about feedback on the range of abilities or something. You know, I don't know what the dev feels like they need from people. But I think if the basic balancing can become more exciting and more, you know, precarious as I play, I'll end up liking it a lot because it's a mech-based deck builder, and that's who I am. I in the non-deck building category, I did play Tasomachi, which is a game that I think was announced at one of those many indie festivals this past year. And it just has like such a good look. It's just visually stunning. There's like, you're on a little, you know, like air ship, but like really a little one, like a personal airship with a big balloon. And you're going through these kind of East Asian inspired environments and landing to do some platforming. And like, it's very pretty and it's fine. I like, you know, the platforming is so simple that it doesn't, and I'm not a platforming person, but it's like, it's just, there's nothing there in terms of, there's like some additional little side challenges and stuff like that, but it needs a bigger mechanical hook than jumping on little places that give me jump boosts. And it's a shame because I think that the atmosphere is through the roof.
Yeah, this looks awesome. Like, but
okay, but do you see in this trailer that I've linked at?
Yeah, I just saw the platforming and I get like my fingers twitched.
Yes.
It's tough when you play games like that where there are just certain genres where it's just really hard to get away with, like where from just being like baseline even competent, like where it's going to start breaking the experience. Like platformers, like shooters, like they're just like certain genres. Like, hey, you start playing in here. Boy, the rest of it's really got to pick up the slack if you're going to put this in here as like, you know, the thing that the player is going to do mechanically while the rest of it kind of like tries to support it. And, you know, maybe they get there with this, but like, it almost just seems like, hey, what if it's just like an adventure game? Or
what
like,
if it was just an adventure game? Or give me like focus on storytelling, focus on something else that can be, that really takes advantage of these big environments if your platforming isn't going to be like top notch or even competitive in that way. It just doesn't feel good to jump in this game, right? And like that's the thing I'm being asked to do, is to jump on these platforms and work out alternative solutions and stuff like that. And who knows?
That's me trying to play that Balan's World, whatever that.
Did you play Balan?
Oh boy,
World?
did I play that demo for?
I watched some of the John Bomb people play that. That looks rough, man.
I've had like a visceral reaction to hitting the X button for the first time. Like the first jump I took, like I like put the controller down. I was just like it like shook me to my core. I was just like, whoa, that felt so bad to do. I don't want to do that again.
Yeah.
It's so weird because on one hand, I wish games had more demos, that players had more opportunities to understand what they're getting into before they play a game. I wish it was easier to like, you know, get refunds and all that. Because so much of all marketing, you know, games or otherwise, like are doing their best to kind of like trick you into paying for something and then, you know, be stuck there. But boy, I don't know that I would have released demos on all platforms for this game because it seems like it was like someone was like, hey, this is a bad video game. I have to get the word out. We should do a really accessible demo on all platforms well in advance of release so that people could cancel their pre-orders.
Oh.
It's like I've never seen a demo be like a better like example of like, I don't ever want to play this again.
It's like a 3D action platformer, right?
Yeah,
where you have like powers.
From, is it not? Is it Yuji Naka?
I think it's Yuji Naka.
I think it's Yuji Naka.
Who is one of the kind of like Sega legends of old.
Yeah, was involved in a Sega or a Sonic, I believe.
Sonic, like, was a huge part of Sonic Team. He ran Sonic Team, I want to say, during the kind of Saturn and
and I want to say he was in like
he was even he was the lead programmer of Sonic the Hedgehog. Yeah, Knights is the one that is like the Nights, for me, when I think of Yuji Naka, I think of this run of games that is Nights into Dreams,
the
Sonic Adventures.
The Nights Christmas disc that you could get from Blockbuster.
The Nights Christmas
awesome.
disc. Yes, absolutely. And then I think he helped produce, he was a producer on Phantasy Star Online. Like that era of Sega is like when I think of him as a leader of the company in that way. But he also did work through the Sega Genesis era. He was a programmer on Phantasy Star and on all the Sonic games and all that stuff too. But he kind of stepped up into leadership in the like Saturn Dreamcast era. So
yeah. Anyway, this game's bad. Don't play it. I mean, dude, put down the demo and go, what would it be like to play like a really terrible platform?
It's
like
so weird because you only have one button, right? It's a one button. Okay, you have movement, but then you also have like your action button, and that changes based on what costume you're in.
Yeah, like that's the whole pitch of the game is
right?
that like you're jumping into these different costumes that change like your basic mechanics. So, like you'll have a like a fireball or like.
But it makes the whole game seem like a mobile game because there's only the one button. And so it makes me feel like, is this coming to phones? Is this built for phones in that way?
No, it's on everything. I mean, you have like attacks. Like it's not just jump. Like I think there might be a little bit more. I don't know. I attempted to. Your brain can only remember so many things, and I quickly brought it up to my brain that like let's just forget this one. Like we
can move on this one.
Remember something related to your neighbors instead of like the particulars of this. That
means you never helped that farmer with his corn problem.
No, it's the way the people dance in this game. Look up a video. It is something else. Or download the demo.
Download the demo. People should try it for themselves and
experience Balan's Wonderworld Land or whatever it's called.
I think it's Wonderworld. I want to say it's Wonderworld because every time I want to say Wonderland, and I'm like, no, it's not. It's not the thing that would feel comfortable saying. It's the thing that I have to stretch for.
Wonderland. Right. Is this like a Disney, like East Coast, West Coast thing? One's Balan's Wonderland. Yes. One's Balan's Wonderworld.
Yes. So that's also part of this demo thing that's out there. The last thing
if there are other demos that people
please tell me. I want to write in. Love. I'll say a Loop Hero, that game I talked about a couple of weeks ago, has a demo.
Release date.
And it got a release date. You're right. Shit. What is it, like
early
March something? Right? Yeah, March 11th. I also played Glitch Punk, which is like the sequel. It's like the sequel to GTA 2. I always knew I wanted, actually. I was a big GTA 2 fan, believe it or not. Like, obviously, it's like the cyberpunk top-down GTA game.
I played so much. I didn't play I never owned GTA 2, but I played so much of the timed demo that came on, like, whatever PC Gamer disc that I got. Yep. Like, you got, like, 5 minutes, and I played... it was back, the argument against demos where you can play the 5-minute version and then never, I don't think I was allowed to buy the game, but I didn't need to because that demo was more than enough.
Yeah, totally. And this feels very much like that in terms of visual style and like tone and aesthetic and all of that, which is to say, if that sounds like edgelord bullshit to you, then it probably is. But I forgot how much I liked these weird top-down open world action games, which we got some of back in that kind of PS1 era, both on PC and on console, and it's just like a weird perspective to play a game in, and I like it.
There's only like what's the one? There's like the one guy who's made 2 of these in a row. He's like a mostly solo developer. Shoot, what is?
Shit, I don't know who you mean. What are they like?
They're like these. They're just like
these.
Dang, I wrote an article about it recently, but I can't. I'll try. You continue.
You dig it up. You dig it up.
I'll dig it up.
And then I did play one more thing, and it was another card game. It's called Rogue Book. Richard Garriott is involved. I had to download it because Richard Garriott not Garriott. Jesus Christ. Garfield.
I'm going to say Ultima?
Richard Garfield.
Wait, Richard Garfield?
Yes, of Magic the Gathering and Netrunner.
Not Andrew Garfield.
Is involved. But listen, like when I see Garfield, not Andrew Garfield of Spider-Man. When I see Richard Garfield's name attached to things now, I'm sort of like, oh, word? Like, did he just like swing through the office for a day and then sign a release saying you could use his name? Like, what's the situation? I don't know how deep he is in any of the games his name shows up on now. But this is like another, I think this is a pretty cool game. This is another deck builder, and you're exploring a map between fights, and you're like filling in the map tile by tile with like ink and revealing like what's in the kind of areas you can't go to. So it's like if the map hasn't been revealed, you can't go there yet. And so you're like bouncing from almost like lighthouse to lighthouse, which also reveals some of the map. And then you're using, stuff that you found, and you're upgrading your deck. And it's like it's like multiple characters on each side of the fight. It's more like one of those than it is like a one-on-one or one-on-multiple enemies type thing. But again, it's very much in that Slay the Spire monster train vibe. Yeah, that's also coming out. Those are the things that I touched anyway. That's Rogue Book.
Rogue Book.
Yeah, and I downloaded a bunch of other stuff that I still need to actually check out, but I just haven't.
Retro City Rampage and Shakedown Hawaii.
Yes, right. I never played those. Maybe I should have.
Yeah, like those. I mean, they definitely. I think they shave off some of the edgelord humor and replace it with something different. But it definitely those are games that pretend use that design framework and ran with it. Oh, the other I finished 13 Sentinels.
Congrats! I did not get back to it last week, Patrick. You're gonna have to find somebody else. My time is just not there right now.
That was tremendous. It certainly would have been in my top 10 had I played that game last year. And the thing I'll say about it is that I think what's remarkable about it is that if I was to sit and explain to you the story, I don't know that you'd come away going, "Wow, that's a really inventive, one of a kind sci-fi story." It's not trying to be that. It isn't that. It's the uniqueness of its presentation, how the story is told, and the fact that occurs uniquely in a video game is a huge part of why it's just so, because if you were explaining to it the story, yes, it's convoluted sci-fi bullshit, but it's not that out there if you've read enough convoluted sci-fi bullshit. It's the fact that it's it feels like the story was written and then was well, then how can we dice this up and tell it in a really interesting
in a non-linear way where you're jumping from character to character.
Yes, the non-linear presentation is a huge part of what ends up making it special, and it's also because along the way the characters take such center stage. Often it is, in convoluted sci-fi bullshit stories, the convoluted sci-fi bullshit is the appealing part, as opposed to and the characters are just there as mechanisms to tell the story. And here that doesn't feel the case. I think because of the non-linear fashion, so much of the mechanics of the story that make you go, holy shit, really just don't start happening till so much later that you're invested in the arcs of the characters and how they're affected. It's, I as I often do, bring so many things back to Lost, but the reason I liked that show was not the mysteries. It was how the mysteries affected the characters. And I think that show got itself into trouble because there were ways for people to not do that, which is you could get completely wrapped up in the mystery and not care about the characters. And if you didn't like how the mysteries wrapped up, that made that show very unsatisfying. Where 13 Sentinels, I think the way it's structured is so specific in particular. It feels like it had to have had I'm sure it wasn't a finished script and then they diced it up, but it feels we know what this is. We know why we're going to make people care about these characters. And then what's going to make this feel even more explosive is the structure in which we're telling it and the weirdness that is layered on top. And so it's fun to understand why people were so hype for that game. And I think it is. I definitely think it's a journey worth going down. I had no regrets on playing it on easy, where I just basically say, if anything, I wish the game had another mode that was just do you not want to do this? There's such precious little storytelling that occurs in the combat itself. It's all based on which characters you've chosen to bring into combat. So there'll be little chatter, but it's just bullshit. You don't learn anything. So there was an instance where the way I played the game was I would fill out a character's story arc, and then I'd hit a lock where it's hey, you can't do this until you do X, Y, or Z. And then I'd move to the next character, and I would do that, and then maybe I'd unlock the event that I needed for someone else, and so I'd go back, do that, and I would do everything I could from a storytelling perspective, and then I would go do 90 minutes of combat. And that was fine. Like the first 2 times I did that, because I would mostly just do the combat parts while I'm watching like a television show. But then like I'd done 95% of the story, and like I just needed to do the end game stuff, and was like, hey, you want to go do like 90 more minutes of like combat sequences that even on easy, they're not going to be hard. They're just going to be long. And I was like, not really, game. Like I don't. And I
feel
did
at all
and
like it would
fine.
have been better if that stuff had been challenging for you, to where like it would have at least been.
I don't think so, because I heard, but based on what talking to other folks that had like finished the game, was that you kind of needed to ratchet the difficulty like all the way up for the game to start pushing back, and then even if you just put it on normal, it just would have taken longer. I don't know that it would have been harder, and plus it's like I didn't play enough of the combat to have like the mechanics push back on me.
Yeah.
I just didn't care. Like I was just not here for that. I knew what I wanted out of the game, and if I could have just like sliced that out, it would have made. I would have enjoyed the experience more as a result. So anyway, it's 13 Sentinels, very, very, very good. I will find some way to, I don't know, rope Chris Plant or someone onto a spoiler chat to do that.
Listen, I should say, because I know, because people have like gotten at me on Twitter to be like, Austin, you really love this game.
I did. That is my
even
own.
Even before that. I mean, like last year when it first came out.
Okay,
and.
Gotcha.
Like, if you could see my Discord history of being like, I hope they fucking port this game or localize this game. I can't wait to play. I hope that they bring this over. They bring over the other vanilla stuff. This is the one, like, maybe it's so narrative focused. Maybe they're not going to do it. Like, I was looking forward to this game for years, and it's just like COVID has just put me in a place where I just don't have that place or time. Like, my schedule
I'm hopeful
is just
this game will get
now, man.
ported to Switch. Like, this is like a game that. You know, I was happy to play it on my phone. The art would look beautiful on,
and
TV,
once life is back to a thing that like I'm getting more done.
This is a commute game, boy. Like if you were going places, man, or like going on a trip to PAX or like whatever. Like this game is like the way you can play it like in small chunks. It would be the ultimate train like.
Totally.
Game. Like
no, I just want to make sure people know no one is more disappointed than me that I'm not in the place to play this game right now.
It's you, and then it's me.
Then you.
But you're above me. Like you're more disappointed than me.
Yes, exactly. And I'll get there at some point.
We'll revisit that later. But I do. It is the game that I really do hope it gets a Switch port, because I just think that there is a much larger audience for this game.
Right.
Or if it got ported to phones, like there's really nothing stopping this game from like, being a mobile.
I mean, think about something like 999 came out on phones, right, and PC, and like they just cut the puzzles, right, or they
allowed you to skip them. I think
right.
Just
so
like,
just do that with the tower defense
and if they were to do like a special edition that like got ported, I would hope they would just put one in where it's like, do you want to just like click and like just move on? Because I will say I remember when I did like the how long to beat, and it said like 33 and a half hours. I was like, all right, I give myself one of these a year. I'm going to do this in Sleepy January. And even though I put it on easy, I still hit, I think 31. So like I shaved off a little bit of time, but
what they
I could have gotten that down to like 26 without the combat entirely.
Right. They should do in the special edition a thing where instead of playing those fights, they just animate those fights, and they're really pretty, and they still give you any of the story beats that matter via animation, but that's it.
If I could have just watched a scripted version of it, it was like, hey, did you want to just watch the comp? You want to just like pick your characters and like we'll just like play it for you. I was like, I like it because the combat's really pretty. Like it looks gorgeous.
Yeah,
like it
that
looks
stuff like
gorgeous.
blows up and
it looks when like 1,000 missiles shoot out. Like occasional like was it the Bangai-O, like that Dreamcast and 64 game? Like boom, there's like 1,000 missiles going out. And it looks gorgeous. Or this robot's just tackling someone, and like that's its main attack. Not for any reason that seems like you'd rather have the missiles, but that tackle looked good. So
totally.
13 Sentinels, good video game.
I'm glad you got through it. That makes me feel good. All right. Well, on that note, I think we're through it. Also, we got through it all. we will be back or we don't know if we'll be back next Monday. I guess what's the thing? We don't know if there's going to be anything in the Monday feed.
Yeah, usually we look and see if like will an advertiser get mad at us? Like, have we committed to an ad? Then we will do something because that's a contract we signed. But we try to give ourselves time off. So I would say do not expect a pod
on Monday.
And if there is one, then we had a contract we agreed to.
Right, exactly.
and you will then hear like me and Austin talk about Bowser's Fury for like 25 minutes. And
exactly.
fulfill our obligation.
And then we will be back on Friday with another two-part panel conversation. Do we know what those episodes are yet? Can we say that? Are we allowed to, Cado?
I don't know what the rules are, so I'm just not going to say it then.
Just
but
in case. I don't need to get in trouble on that shit.
TV's weird.
So TV's weird. Actually, wait, that's the way to do it real quick. Check this shit out. TV Guide, Reset, Vice. Then come over here and see. Yeah. Let's see. That's exactly right. That's like, let me go over here, look at the schedule here. I know it's a Wednesday show. And I scroll down here. Here we go, Reset. Okay, these are going to be the War Games episodes. The first episode is about like the history of games and the military investing in games, VR stuff. The second one is about like VR, or is about military recruitment stuff. And I was on the first of those two panels, which was fun because I got to be the person who said like, hey, we never talked about what the U.S. military does. We should talk about that a little bit. So look forward to those conversations. That first conversation is also like very heavy, but very good because, one of the people on it is someone who served in the early 2000s and has since become an anti-war activist. Who went through fucking hell, in that situation. And who's also someone who's like written about the place games have on military bases and stuff. So it was a really interesting conversation. So look forward to that on Friday. You'll hear me do a very similar throw to this probably on Friday's episode. So sorry for duplicating, but then we'll be back when we're back after that. I hope everyone has a good week. It's very weird not doing a Friday show now. It feels like we don't check in. You know what I mean? It feels like I'm not talking as to people directly as often, even though this is not like, it's
we
weird.
Can't have our pretend go to the bar and like have a beer check-in like the Thursday podcast functions.
That's exactly it.
Closest thing we have.
Totally.
Except it's Rob pouring a drink.
You know what? Here, I'm gonna read one question from the bucket to try to like make that feeling exist a little bit better. This one comes in from Waz, who says, if you could will into existence a stuffed food roll, pizza rolls, Hot Pocket, etc., what would you have in it? Personally, I think a nacho roll would be pretty good.
That exists. It's called the Crunchwrap Supreme.
I guess
I feel like we kind of also already did this exercise when I like the lasagna burrito.
The lasagna burrito. That's true.
Which is kind of like what I legitimately was thinking through my answer, and I was like, well, lasagna in that would be really good. And I was like, I think I still think it's
different though. A lasagna burrito is a big meal. Yeah. But if you could have like, think about something that's more like,
so it's like compact,
Hot Pocket size, and like you just toss it in the mic. You heat up the oven. You toss them in there for a little bit. That's what I'm saying.
I just don't think I've ever heard anyone call a microwave a mic.
No, a microwave, a mic.
I'm trying to think of foods that I like that already I haven't eaten, and like because I thought I love pizza, and it's like that's pizza rolls. Like
that's already a thing.
They made those before they made those a thing you could buy in the freezer aisle. That was just calzones. So they've been making pizza rolls.
Think through food.
I know.
I guess. Well,
it has to be warm too, right? Like that's a thing.
It doesn't have to be warm.
Part of the reason I came back to lasagna is because, when I think about like desert island foods, like if you had I just love pasta. Whenever my wife is like, oh, we're eating pasta again, I was like, yeah, we're eating pasta again. So I think in those terms, like I'm thinking like, spaghetti, linguine, like give me different pastas like in a tiny little morsel, like a little pop of like some Italian food, like wrapped up. Like that's the direction.
So it's wrapped up in a different dough than the pasta dough, right? Like, or are we
Yeah.
doing like a ravioli situation where it's basically a big ravioli?
Ooh, you've opened us up to a new world, Cado.
Oh,
I've just realized I was like, oh, I also have these other 2 questions to look at, and they're from the same person. Laz just emails us really good food questions.
hell yeah.
People say you can't compare them, but I think we should. So what's it going to be? Apples or oranges?
Oranges,
That's the entirety
100%.
of the question. So what's it gonna be?
Oranges
Apples
with
or
a fucking
oranges?
bullet.
Yeah. So what's it going to be? Apples or oranges? Like a mobster about to break your kneecaps.
No, for real though, oranges. I'm
love
gonna,
oranges.
I'm gonna pick an orange, a tangerine, a mandarin over an apple. Because here's the thing, I feel like it is you are more likely to pick up a bad apple that is just like that weird mealy texture that I cannot
hate
deal
that. That makes you not
with
want to eat an apple for like
ever.
3 weeks.
Yeah,
you know.
it's just like
Yeah.
I'm just like turned off from the whole fucking situation. I don't want to eat apples again if they're gonna be like this. But oranges,
The
also
problem is I like if it's the end of the world and it's like there's in front of me is the apple or the orange. Like I'm gonna eat the orange. But I think of oranges as something like I don't want an orange every day. Like I feel like
That too
an orange
much
is
acid for you? What's
it's
the...
like I have an orange. I love orange juice, and it's like I drink orange juice every morning. But like an actual orange is like, well, I have that, and like I'm good. Like it's a little more special. Whereas like an apple just feels like I could put that in a bunch of different things.
Sure.
Like maybe it's because I don't respect the apple as much. And it's like okay, fine. Like
Yeah, fuck
put
this
you in with
apple
some
up.
fucking peanut butter apple. Like we're good. Like wouldn't do that to my orange.
No, yeah, I would just just orange as is. But
Yeah.
you're right. The apple has a lot of uses. You could do stuff
Yes.
with the apple in
Yes.
a way.
I can hide it. It's kind of like pasta in
it's a
that way. It's like
canvas.
hey, well, kind of
Right.
put you into different things.
Right. Totally.
I
Absolutely.
feel like you can save a bad apple by putting it in a pie.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
Right?
That's like the classic thing to do with
Yeah.
a bad apple, right?
Right.
Put it in a pie. That's what they say.
Delicious.
One bad apple don't spoil the whole bunch, girl. Take that shit out and put it in a pie.
Oh, well, there's the podcast title.
Uh-huh.
That's it. The Acast or whatever.
We'll see.
Have you ever
We'll
had
see-
an
we'll see what
orange with
Acast
Nutella
says.
though?
No.
No, I would
Fucking
not.
delicious.
Have you ever had blank with Nutella? No. The answer is no.
Patrick coming out strong against Nutella.
Against? Or just you haven't?
No, against. I had it one time and like we
It's
I
chocolate
had
and
it.
hazel, like
I had
My mom loves
I
Nutella.
I had it in high school where like someone that had like was new to our high school, and so it was like a day where like they brought in something. I think they were from New Zealand, and they was like, oh, like Nutella is like really huge over there, and not really like as much of an American thing. And so like they brought it and served it, and it was just like, how do I get this shit in the
Wow.
trash, like before? Now I've never tried it since, so I've just
oh my
like
god.
maintained that experience all along.
It's
and like maybe I'd
just-
feel differently. Maybe 36 years old, I need to spread my wings.
It's
I need
chocolate
Are
to
you
and
sure you're
hazelnut.
not thinking of
Again.
Vegemite?
Yeah, I was gonna say, what did it taste like?
I might. That's a distinct possibility.
Because Nutella is like chocolate. It's like
Yeah, it's just
Maybe I'm
chocolate.
confusing them in my head.
What if there's?
You said
What's
Australia.
Vegemite?
Australia,
Yeah, Australia. Vegemite is Australia.
right?
So the New Zealand part makes sense.
right.
Sure, and it's like a vegetable spread. I don't know. I don't know what
we're
it.
definitely. Yeah, you know what? Sorry, Nutella. We're definitely talking shit about Vegemite right here.
I need you to go get the smallest bottle of Nutella you could find this week.
Yeah,
and just try it on
that shit's
something.
around now.
Well, no, I'm
probably-
taking it back. Like, I don't have an opinion. Now I'm back to Cado's original
But that's what I'm saying.
proposition.
Is but I
don't have
want
an
to
opinion.
know now. Now
Yeah,
I
we need to know what
you should
your
get an
opinion
orange
is.
and Nutella and see what that
Hell
combo
yeah.
does.
Oh, it's
Okay,
fucking
let's go. All right.
delicious.
I bet it's
so
better on
good.
apple though. I feel like apple is a better canvas for Nutella than oranges. That feels
Maybe.
like a flavor clash to me.
No, like you ever
all
have
right.
like an one of those orange, like chocolate oranges, right?
I have not had one of those chocolate oranges.
Yeah, it's
no.
a thing. It's like a little.
I believe you. No, I know
a-
it's a thing. I just haven't had one.
Yeah, they're delicious. It's just like shaped like an orange, but it's just solid chocolate, but it has orange flavoring in it, and it's
I see.
delicious.
Oh, I've had orange. I've had chocolate that does have some sort of orange flavor for
Right.
sure, and I do like that.
And so
That
like
is nice.
the Nutella and it's like the Nutella and like raw orange is really playing in that space, and it's fucking delicious. I used to have that shit for breakfast, just like a whole orange and like a little bit of Nutella, and like that was it. It was delicious and wonderful.
There you go. Well, on that note, everyone, please enjoy your Nutella this week.
Yeah.
And
if you like Vegemite, go with God, I guess, but don't take it anywhere
I think
near
I had
Patrick.
it when I was in Australia once.
Yeah.
But I don't remember it. I don't remember if I had a strong feeling. And that's the safest way to be on the internet these days. So I'm going to commit to that. All right, everyone. I hope you have a good week. We'll be back later this week with those reset panels. I hope you enjoy those. Until then, thank you to Bowen for letting us use the track Miss You off the EP Pale Machine. Find out more about that at waypoint.zone/BOEN. Find me on Twitter at Austin_Walker. You can follow everything we do, twitter.com/waypoint, waypoint.vice.com. Cado, where can people find you online?
On Twitter at @A_Cado_appears.
Patrick.
At Patrick Klepek.
That's it on Twitter. Patrick Klepek on Twitter. I don't know why that sounded like that sounds like an old video game like voice sample from before you could do voice samples. You know what I mean? Like Joe Montana football or Patrick Klepek. Yeah, exactly. Double dribble, like one of those. Patrick Klepek. Yeah. All right, everyone. We'll talk to you later. Fuck capitalism. Go home. Peace. Sorry, there's a very loud... Is this coming through?
Yeah, it is.
I'm going to wait until this drives past before I pick back up. Sorry.
Snowplow.
It's a snowplow. It's a snowplow on a road that's mostly plowed already. And so it's mostly just hitting the fucking road.
Right.
I was definitely supposed to be part of a preview event and then didn't add it to my calendar. Like, got this email that's like, thanks for participating in our preview event. I was like, you're welcome.
I was definitely there.
One time I tried to be in this preview event for to get the code. I had to like be in an event, and I was like, oh, okay. And so it was just like go into Discord channel and like put it on and like ignore it while I did some presentation, so I could just get the code email at the end of it. Yeah. But I ended up having to watch Elizabeth and like tried to join it on my iPad, and then like had it on in the speakers and was just like talking with my daughter, and then finally at some point there was like, is there a baby on this call? And I was like, so I just quit. I was like so shook that it was like, I'm not even gonna find the mute button. I'm just like, I'm out. Like, and I sent an email. It's just like, incredible. Yeah, something like my daughter. I need to take care of her. Hopefully I still get that code.
That's very
sure. Don't worry about it.
That's very good.
Time dot is meaningless for Tom Brady.
Yeah. Fuck, dude. That game is brutal.
Yeah, that was no fun. That was
You want it if he's gonna win, you want him to fucking feel it a little bit at least.
Yeah, I wanted a good I wanted like a game where the other team could throw a pass.
Yeah.
I saw a tweet last night that was like Mahomes just threw the two like best
incomplete passes.
Yeah.
Oh, there was one. He was being tackled to the ground, and he threw it 30 yards, and it hit the receiver in the end zone in the helmet.
I know.
I saw a stat that he ran just shy of 500 yards in that game. But not forward, like in just scrambling.
Right.
He did almost 500 yards, just fucking trying to make it work.
The pocket did not exist.
No, it did not. It was
no.
Just go do a sprint, do a half marathon.